What would you do if a simple visit to your partner's workplace revealed the unimaginable? This is a story of shock, betrayal, and a decision that changed everything. Welcome to the True Crime Studio, where we uncover stories that captivate and inspire. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales that will leave you speechless.
Emily married at 24, filled with the hopeful dreams of a young woman who believed starting a family would be simple. She envisioned her life perfectly, marrying her soulmate, having her first child, a girl, she hoped, by age 25, and completing her family before turning 30. But reality struck hard when, a year into marriage, she was still not expecting. She became more determined in the second year, and that's when her challenges truly began. She had always dreamed of 4 children, but now, just one would make her the happiest mother alive. Emily sat hunched over the bathroom sink, her breath unsteady. With trembling hands, she dipped a pregnancy test strip into her urine, her eyes fixed on it as seconds dragged on. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, but it was just a moment before she placed the test on the counter, too afraid to look. She paced the spacious bathroom, pulling at her hair and wringing her hands in anxiety. Part of her tried to temper her hopes, but another part, the desperate part, kept thinking maybe this time was different. After 4 years of trying, this could be her moment. She paced, avoiding the test until enough time had passed. This was a pivotal moment. The result would either be a miracle or heartbreak. She clenched her hands, shut her eyes tight, praying this wouldn't end in tears like so many times before. Finally, she stopped and slowly approached the test, taking a deep breath. Her heart sank when she saw just one line. Negative, always negative. Her eyes flicked to her reflection in the mirror, and she didn't react at first. Seconds later, the pain swelled, and she let out a deep, gut-wrenching sigh, sinking to the floor, unable to stand. She tried to cry to release the pain, but the tears wouldn't come. The pain was like a fist clenching her heart, nearly stopping her breath, but still, no tears fell. "I've done everything," Emily whispered, leaning against the wall. She truly had done everything right in her quest to become a mother. Everyone seemed to have advice, and they weren't shy about offering it. Emily tried it all. When the usual methods failed, she sought solutions in unexpected places. "Eat more pineapple," a family friend suggested. It sounded strange, but Emily trusted it and consumed pineapples daily, to no avail. An elderly woman at church advised, "Put your legs up after intimacy, dear. It helps the sperm reach the egg faster." Emily tried that too, holding her legs up for about 5 minutes each time, which her husband, James, found odd but never questioned. She did this for a month, but nothing changed. Get a pet first, dance under a full moon, talk to your future child in your mind, pray to the goddess Hera. She tried it all. Dancing under the full moon was the strangest, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Before all that advice, Emily had tried every conventional method, tracking her ovulation, lifestyle changes, genetic counseling, infertility treatments, and IVF. She even got James to optimize his sperm health. When none of that worked, she turned to traditional remedies, supplements, prayers, acupuncture, everything. Still, nothing worked. It had been 4 years since she started trying to conceive. Why wasn't it happening? She had done everything she could, tried things she never imagined, yet nothing changed. Friends and relatives who married after her already had children. Some were even expecting again. Yet here she was, facing another negative test. In frustration, she picked up the test from the counter and hurled it against the wall, watching it fall to the floor. 2 months prior, her doctor prescribed a new medication, praised as a top infertility treatment among many women. Following the doctor's instructions, she took the medication for 3 weeks and was intimate with James, pinning her hopes on this treatment. She hoped this time it would work. Emily buried her hands in her hair and pulled hard. "What else is there?" she whispered in agony. "I've done everything. What else is left?" The front door slammed shut, but Emily remained on the bathroom floor, her heart shattered. A while later, the bedroom door opened, and she heard footsteps. It was James. Before she could speak, a shadow fell across the bathroom floor as James stepped in. His eyes landed on the pregnancy test before turning back to her. Her tears seemed to be waiting for an audience because the moment James entered, they burst forth like a broken dam. "Oh, my love." James reached out to her, lowering himself to sit beside her on the floor. "I'm sorry, James. I don't know what else to do," Emily sobbed, leaning into him. James sighed. "Don't worry. We'll keep trying." Emily pushed him away. "I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of hoping, James. It's the hope that's killing me. I was so hopeful this time." "I'm sorry," James said apologetically, reaching out again to pull her into his arms. "What can I do to help?" Emily didn't think he understood. He was a man. He never faced the annoying questions like, "When are you having a baby? Why is it taking so long?" "Emily," James cupped her face. "I promise we're on the same team," he said, as if he could hear her inner thoughts. "I hate seeing you like this. You know what?" Emily wiped her tears. James stood up, pulling her along. Dr. Carter was very confident this treatment would work. "I've never seen him so sure about any other treatment." "What do you mean?" Emily asked, looking at him intently. "You can see it didn't work. When's your next appointment with Dr. Carter?" "Next week," she replied. "Good." James picked up the pregnancy test and tossed it in the trash. "We'll do a proper pregnancy test at the hospital. Watch," Emily whispered. "Sweetheart." James held her face. "Sometimes these tests aren't accurate, especially in the early days of pregnancy. We need to do a blood test to be sure." Emily felt a faint glimmer of hope, but she wasn't sure if she should be happy or sad about it. On this journey, hope was a silent killer. Every time she hoped for a positive result and got a negative instead, a part of her died. Now, there was just a tiny bit of life left in her. Hope was dangerous, but James was right. Dr. Carter had also told her the same thing. Pregnancy tests were good but sometimes inaccurate, especially in the early days. James kissed her forehead and smiled gently. "What day next week so I can clear my schedule?" "I'll go with you." For the first time that night, Emily smiled. She didn't know how James managed to stay so cheerful, never showing disappointment. That was one of the things that kept her going. "I'll have to confirm with Dr. Carter first," she replied. "Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. You know what? Whatever day it is, I don't care. I'll go with you. Okay?" Emily chuckled and wiped away the last of her tears. "Okay." James was a branch manager at one of the city's renowned banks. As a banker, he was always busy, making it hard to reach him during work hours, so his taking time to go with her to the hospital was a sweet gesture she deeply appreciated. James began preparing a bath. He reached into the cabinet and took out one of her favorite lavender-scented bath bombs. "Come here, sweetheart," he said. "This will help you relax." "You don't have to do all this," Emily said. "You must be tired after a long day at work. I should be the one doing this for you." James rolled his eyes. "It's fine. Just get in the bath. When you're done, we can eat and unwind." Emily undressed and slowly sank into the bathtub, letting out a soft moan as the warm water soaked into her skin. "Thank you, James." He just waved it off and kissed her on the forehead. "Listen, I love you. Okay? Okay. I love you, James." "I know," he said. "Don't ever forget that we're a team. We're fighting together, not against each other. Understand?" "Understood," she smiled. "Good." He nodded and left the bathroom. Emily watched him leave, the smile still lingering on her lips. She didn't know what she had done to deserve James, but at least that was one thing in her life she got right. She couldn't imagine going through this pain with anyone else. It wasn't easy, even with James being so patient and loving. She rested her head against the tub, letting all her worries and fears fade away. There was still a tiny bit of hope left to cling to, and she hoped that next week's doctor's appointment would bring good news. On the following Tuesday, Emily got ready for her appointment with Dr. Carter. As always, her heart started to race every time she went to the hospital. She didn't know what today would bring, but all she could do was hope and pray that it would be different. After the negative pregnancy test, she still held on to the hope that the blood test would yield a different result. When she had called Dr. Carter to set up this appointment, he told her to keep the faith. The kind doctor always tried to reassure her, but Emily felt alone. It wasn't easy to relax or keep faith, though she appreciated everyone's kindness. After trying to calm her pounding heart for a few minutes, she picked up the phone and called James. She had told him a few days ago that the appointment was at 2 p.m. today, and now it was 1:30. Was he meeting her at home, or should she pick him up at the office? She called him twice, and when he didn't answer, Emily decided to stop by his office to pick him up. Maybe he had forgotten the appointment due to his busy work schedule. As a branch manager, one might think James had flexible working hours, but that wasn't the case. He left the house early at 7 a.m. every day and didn't return until 6 p.m. He often had to travel for work and rarely got time off or went on vacation. He worked hard for their family, and Emily wished she could at least give him a child to care for. They both had so much love, and they needed a baby to pour all that love into. As she drove to James's office, Emily fought back tears. This was not the time to cry, especially when she would soon be facing James's colleagues and subordinates. She needed to look her best. When she parked in the bank's garage, she quickly checked her reflection in the mirror, dabbed on some powder, and reapplied her lip gloss before stepping out of the car. The receptionist, a friendly woman named Carla, smiled as Emily entered. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Collins," she greeted. "Long time no see. You look beautiful." "Thank you, Carla. So do you," Emily smiled. "I'm here to see James." "Is he in?" "We have an appointment, and he's not picking up his phone." "Oh, one moment." Carla picked up the phone, pressed a few buttons, and held it to her ear. After a few seconds, she shook her head. "He's not answering, but you can head right up. I haven't seen him leave all day." "Thanks." Emily stepped into the elevator, tapping her foot out of nervousness. It was almost 2 p.m., and she hated being late for doctor's appointments, especially today when she was eager to get this visit over with. James's secretary, Linda, was not at her desk when Emily hurried toward his office door. That was a shame because she really liked Linda. "James." Emily pushed the door open and walked into the office. "James, are you?" She stopped, her hand flying to her mouth as shock and disappointment washed over her. Her husband was naked, and so was Linda. Linda's thin red hair was tousled and curly, clear evidence of what had just happened. They froze when they saw her, shock evident on their faces. Linda scrambled off the desk, and James hurriedly pulled up his pants. "It's not what it looks like, Emily. Please let me explain." Emily was a fan of romantic comedies and drama series, so she had seen many movies with cliché lines like, "It's not what it looks like. Please let me explain." And it was just one time. She always laughed at those lines, but she never imagined there would come a day when they were aimed at her. As she watched them hastily dress, she felt her heart shatter. She didn't realize she was crying until she felt the tears streaming down her cheeks. "Emily," James stepped toward her. "Please let me explain." She instinctively turned and rushed out of the office. Running outside, she felt the strange looks from employees and customers, making her feel even more ashamed. How ironic it was that she had taken such care with her appearance when she walked in, but now she didn't care that her mascara and eyeshadow might be smeared. "Mrs. Collins," she heard Carla's voice calling after her as she ran out of the bank. "Is everything all right?" "All right." Emily almost laughed as she quickly got into her car and sped out of the parking lot. If Carla had asked her that when she walked in, Emily would have said she was still 10% okay, and that 10% was her marriage, the only good thing left in her life. But now, everything was completely wrong. Her life had just shattered like a precious porcelain vase, and she would never be able to pick up the pieces. She was halfway home when she remembered the doctor's appointment, but what was the point? With her luck, she could almost be sure the blood test would come back negative too. When she got home, she calmly walked in and went straight to the bathroom. This place was becoming her sanctuary in the house. Emily thought as she leaned against the counter and stared at her reflection in the mirror. Whenever she was in pain, this was where she came. Her eyes were teary, her face stained with black streaks from mascara and brown glitter from her eyeshadow. She grabbed some cotton pads from the upper cabinet and wiped her face clean, then splashed cold water on her face. She was about to leave the bathroom when the bedroom door opened and James appeared. He looked disheveled, as if he hadn't stopped to fix himself before running after her. His shirt buttons were still undone, his zipper not pulled up, and his hair was messy. Emily imagined Linda's hands running through it. As they looked at each other across the room, Emily's heart ached. James and Linda had seemed very comfortable with each other. This was definitely not their first time together. Was that why he was always so busy? Was that why he was rarely home? Every time he went on a business trip, Linda always accompanied him. Is that what they were doing there? She loved James so much and always thought he loved her just as much. She had met him 6 years ago at a charity event, and they had started a fun and exciting relationship. But things had changed after they got married. The pressure of infertility was too much, and they barely had time for anything else. I can explain, James said, raising his hands as if trying to calm a child. Please let me explain. Emily didn't react, and James looked confused. It was just a fling, he said. I didn't mean for it to happen, sweetheart. A fling that lasted for years? Emily asked bitterly. James went pale. It's only been 2 years, he said, then winced. How did you know that? I didn't. She shook her head. You just told me. James's frown deepened, and at that moment, Emily realized he wasn't sorry for cheating. He was only sorry he got caught. Emily, don't be like that, he said, his patience slipping. I know I shouldn't have done it, but you can't entirely blame me. Emily's mouth fell open. What do you mean I can't entirely blame you? Am I supposed to share the blame with you? Yes, he raised his hands. Because you made everything so difficult. You're not the same girl I married anymore. And Linda is the girl you married? Linda is. James ran a hand through his hair. Linda is different, okay? She's refreshing. She makes me forget. Forget what? Emily asked, her heart pounding. She makes me forget about you, he said, and Emily collapsed onto the bed, unable to stand any longer. She felt utterly exhausted and wished she hadn't stayed to hear James's feeble apologies. But James wasn't done. He kept talking. She makes me forget about this marriage, just for a little while. I love you, Emily, but lately, everything has been so hard with you. Everything drains me. What are you talking about? A hard lump lodged in Emily's throat as she looked up at him. She knew she was setting herself up for more pain by asking, but she needed to understand what she had done to deserve this torment. Emily, you're always sad, he yelled. You're always depressed. You make everything so hard to live with. Emily stared at him, speechless. I needed to find peace, and I found it somewhere else. You should have done a better job making me happy, and I swear I wouldn't have looked anywhere else. It's not because she's prettier than you. There's no reason I would be with her if you weren't always sad and hard to be around. I can't believe you, James, Emily muttered. And Linda always looked so put together, he continued. Maybe it's because she goes to work. You're just at home all day. Because you told me to quit my job. Emily screamed. You told me to quit and focus on having a baby. She couldn't believe he was using that against her like this. When he made the suggestion a year ago, she had accepted without complaint because she thought it was the right thing to do. When she told her parents, they advised her against it, but she hadn't listened. And that's the damn problem here. James shouted. It's always about the baby. Everything is about this baby that you don't have. Oh God. His words cut through Emily like sharp blades, piercing her as if she were butter. You're so focused on having a baby that you don't think about anyone else. Every time we have sex, it's boring because you're just doing it to get pregnant. We don't have a natural relationship anymore. Everything has to be planned perfectly, and it's like a chore. With Linda, it's natural and passionate. He shook his head. Emily couldn't believe he was still mentioning Linda in their argument right now. James no longer seemed like the person she once knew. He looked and spoke like a complete stranger. You know what I've been going through, James, Emily said, her voice trembling. How dare you say these things to me? This is our struggle, he shot back. Our struggle? Emily scoffed. You're not the one getting asked stupid questions, James. You're not the one facing weird looks from your own family. Clearly, it's not that much of a struggle if you're sleeping with your secretary. I told you we could adopt, he said. It's not a big deal. Emily laughed. It's that easy for you, huh? I have no problem with adopting, but it's not that simple. You're not the one being seen as a failure. That's me. James rolled his eyes. You're blowing everything out of proportion, he said. I've been the best husband to you, Emily, because you know that you're the one with the problem, right? What? She stared at him. What? I mean, if I wanted to, I could get another woman pregnant right now, but I've been careful. If it's not you, I don't want anyone else. The last bit of hope in Emily's eyes died. It would have been hard for her to find a way to forgive James after what she had witnessed, but she might have managed. However, with everything he had just said to her, it was impossible. His words hurt more than the image of Linda and James together in her mind. Without saying another word, she turned and walked into the bathroom, locking the door behind her. As much as she felt like she was about to explode, she didn't cry. She knew she would fall apart later, but she didn't want to let James see how deeply he had hurt her. James started pounding on the door. Emily, come on, please. We can talk about this." She turned on the water to drown out his voice, but her ears still strained to hear what he was saying over the running water. "Emily, I have to get back to the office now," he said. "When I get home, we'll talk." She didn't respond, and it wasn't until she heard the bathroom door slam that she let out a breath of relief. Emily didn't sleep at all that night. She had locked herself in the guest room since last evening, and even when James got back from work, she didn't see him. He had knocked and pounded, but she said nothing. She had heard enough. Everything he said had etched itself into her heart, and nothing could erase it. All night, she tossed and turned, and by early morning, she had made up her mind. She was completely broken, and this was the only way she could deal with the wreckage. She called her parents and made arrangements with them. At 4 a.m., she got up and bought a ticket to go home. When the clock was close to 7 a.m., James came knocking at the door again. "Emily," he called. "Come on, sweetheart, please. I miss you." Emily didn't move. She stayed on the bed, her heart pounding. She was slowly closing herself off from him, but it was hard because she still had so much love for him. "You're being childish," James snapped. "We're adults. Why don't you come out and talk to me?" Then he stopped, waiting for her to respond. When she didn't, he sighed. "I'm going to work, sweetheart. I'll see you when I get back." Going to work, she thought. More like going to see Linda. Emily waited until she heard the front door slam. Then she began to act. With all of James's ridiculousness since she had caught him with Linda the night before, it was clear that somewhere along the way, he had stopped loving her. She suspected that if James were at home, he wouldn't have stopped her from leaving. The reason she waited until he left was that she didn't want to say goodbye. If he were right there, it would be too hard for her to go. Within an hour, Emily had packed all her essential belongings. She knew she would have to pay extra baggage fees at the airport, but she didn't care because she was never coming back to this house. She would miss it, she really would. But that didn't matter more than staying here when James had shown her such blatant disrespect. "What I mean is if I wanted to, I could get another woman pregnant right now, but I've been careful. If it's not you, I don't want anyone else." She would be a fool to stay after he said that to her. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. You are our biggest motivation to keep creating. Let us know where you're watching from so we can see how far this video has reached around the world. Don't forget to hit like if you found it interesting and share it with your friends too. It was just a matter of time before he really did get another woman pregnant. She sat on the front porch to wait for her Uber. When it arrived, she thanked the driver as he helped her load her luggage into the trunk. Before leaving, Emily turned back to look at the house one last time. This time, tears welled up in her eyes. This was a huge step. Was it the right decision? But she didn't allow herself the time to doubt. She got into the back seat. "Let's go," she said as they drove away. She didn't look back again. There was nothing left to see. Her hometown was the complete opposite of the place she had just left. It was a small, quiet town where almost nothing ever happened. But right now, Emily found comfort in that. It had been 2 weeks since she came home, and she still cried every night. Her pain seemed to grow as she got further away from James, not because she missed him, but because she felt like a failure. Here she was without a child, and now she didn't have a husband either. Her parents were her biggest supporters, and she was so grateful for them during this difficult time in her life. But what made her feel worse was that she was also sick. She had been throwing up every morning for the past 3 days. She planned to go to the clinic today. James had called a few times since she left, but she never picked up. He had stopped trying to reach out, and she wasn't surprised. He didn't put up much of a fight. His attitude throughout their argument was enough proof that he didn't love her anymore. She felt nauseous again and rushed out of bed. running to the bathroom and vomiting into the toilet until there was nothing left in her stomach. Exhausted, she flushed the toilet and rinsed her mouth before going out to see her mom in the living room. "You're still throwing up?" her mom asked, looking at her with suspicion. "Are you going to see the doctor today?" Emily nodded wearily and collapsed onto the couch. "I'm starving. That's why I'm here," her mom said. "I made breakfast. I want ice cream," Emily groaned. "But you don't even like ice cream," her mom exclaimed. Emily sat up, squinting at her mom. "Not only do I want ice cream right now, but I also want it with hot sauce." Her mom made a face, and Emily burst out laughing. "I don't know why I'm craving that. It's so weird. I'm going to call Dr. Lewis and make sure they prioritize your appointment when we get to the hospital," her mom said as she walked to the door. "Forget about the ice cream. Come have some real food. You need it." Emily's mom eventually persuaded her to go to the clinic that afternoon, but it was easy since she had already called ahead. When they arrived, Emily was quickly ushered into Dr. Lewis's office. "Good afternoon, Dr. Lewis," she greeted. "Thank you for making time to see me." "Hello, Emily. Good to see you," Dr. Lewis smiled. "What can I do for you today?" "My mom said I've been having a few symptoms," Emily began. "I've been feeling nauseous and vomiting for the past few days. Also, I've been getting headaches and feeling dizzy a lot." "All right," the doctor nodded. "We'll do a blood test and a pregnancy test as well." Emily almost laughed when he said they needed to do a pregnancy test. She nearly wanted to tell him not to waste his time and resources because she was sure there was nothing to see, but she didn't want to be too blunt, so she let him do his job. After they took her blood, she was led to a waiting room to wait for the results. While she waited, her phone beeped with a message from James. At first, she was going to delete it and never open it, but curiosity got the better of her, and she clicked on the message icon. The message read, "The divorce papers should be in your mailbox by now. I still love you, and if you don't want us to end things, come back home. You have 20 days to respond for the court's regulations." Emily read the message over and over, and each time she did, it felt like a punch to the chest. She didn't know what she was expecting, and she had considered divorcing him, but to see him threatening her like that really shocked her. She would never go back to him, and 20 days was too long to reply. She would do it as soon as she got back home. "Emily?" She looked up to see a nurse standing a few steps away. "Dr. Lewis will see you now." "Thank you." Emily walked into the doctor's office. Dr. Lewis gestured for her to sit down in the chair across from his desk and smiled. "Your test results are in." "Am I sick?" she asked because with the bad luck she'd had recently, she wouldn't be surprised if she was diagnosed with something serious. Everything came back negative except for one thing. He picked up a brown folder. "Oh God." She put her hand on her chest. "Please don't say it's an STD." She thought of how she'd been intimate with a man who couldn't keep it in his pants. That wouldn't be a surprise. "No, it's not that." Dr. Lewis chuckled and pushed the folder toward her. "You're pregnant." Emily had waited 4 years to hear those words, but when they finally came, she couldn't believe it. She snatched the folder off the desk and skimmed through it, her eyes widening as she saw she was 5 weeks pregnant. "What?" Emily stared at the lines, as if they would magically rearrange into a negative result. "I tried," she whispered. "I tried for 4 years. Nothing worked." Her body started to shake, and she felt a flood of emotions she couldn't contain. She stood up, trembling. "Can I come back later to see you? I need time to process this." The doctor smiled sympathetically. "Of course, any time. Thank you." Emily decided to take a longer route back home because she wanted to think things through before she got there. Her parents would have seen the divorce papers in the mailbox by now, and they would want to know what she planned to do. She had always imagined how she would react when she finally got pregnant. In all her fantasies, this wasn't one of them. She thought she would scream, dance, or jump up in joy. She never imagined she would take a long walk, dry-eyed, with a mind full of confusion. If she hadn't caught James cheating, if she had gone to his office that day and seen him working as he should have been, he would have gone with her to see the doctor, and her pregnancy would have been confirmed. Their joy would have been restored, and they could have lived happily ever after. But that wasn't the case. She saw him with Linda, and now the divorce papers were waiting for her at home. She was angry at James to the point where she couldn't keep this baby, but just the thought of doing that felt like a knife stabbing into her already broken heart. She knew she could never do it. She had waited too long for this child. No matter whether James was still in her life or not, she would raise this baby. As much as it hurt to think about what could have been, she didn't want him back, and she didn't want him anywhere near her or the child. Chris. Emily suddenly stopped on the sidewalk. She hated that name, and only one person ever called her that to tease her. He had been calling her that since she was 10 years old, and he was 12. His name was Alex, her childhood best friend. She turned toward the voice, her eyes widening when she saw Alex standing there, a gentle smile on his face. He looked different in the best way possible. His hair was cut short, accentuating his face and his strong jawline. Emily had always secretly admired that jaw, even though she used to tease him about it. He looked more handsome and mature than ever, making her heart race. "Chris," he called, taking a step closer. "It's been 6 years," he said. "Yes, it has," she replied, stepping forward. He opened his arms, and Emily ran into them, laughing out loud. They hugged tightly, talking over each other, both laughing and crying. "I missed you so much, Alex," Emily said sincerely. It was the first time she had laughed in days. "Thank God your jaw finally developed properly," she teased. Alex threw his head back and laughed heartily. Then he grabbed her shoulders and looked straight into her eyes. "First of all, Emily, you're as beautiful as ever." He always called Emily beautiful, but every time he said it, it still made her blush. "Thank you. Now tell me what's going on." His eyes widened with concern. Alex had always been able to read her like a book, but it had been 6 years, and she couldn't still be that transparent to him. "Nothing. I'm just taking a walk," she said, relieved that the folder in her hand didn't have the hospital's logo on it. "Come on." He rolled his eyes. "I know you too well. You look exhausted, and not the kind of exhausted from walking in the sun, but the kind that comes from being worn out deep inside." Emily backed away from him, feeling nausea rising in her throat. It had been 6 years since she last saw Alex. He looked like he was doing well, successful and happy. How could she tell him about everything wrong in her life when she was supposed to be doing well herself? "I have to go," she said hurriedly, turning away to leave. "Emily." Alex pulled her back gently. "It's okay. We can—" "No, it's not okay," she yelled, tears streaming down her face. "It's not okay." Immediately, Alex pulled her into his arms and led her to the back of a nearby complex. She hadn't realized they were in front of a shopping center. There was a secluded area behind it, and Alex guided her inside, closing the door behind them. "Talk to me," Alex said softly. Emily wasn't someone who shared her struggles with strangers or even old friends, but there was a gentleness in Alex's eyes that she hadn't seen before. She told him everything, from James's affair to the news of her pregnancy. When she finished, Alex nodded and hugged her tighter. "It's going to be okay, Emily," he said. "Don't blame yourself for someone else's mistakes. You didn't do anything wrong. He should have been there for you, not blaming you when you were hurting." "I want a divorce too," she replied, feeling a tremendous sense of relief. She could finally breathe easier, and her mind seemed clearer. She didn't regret telling Alex, even though they had only just reconnected a few minutes ago. It felt like time hadn't dulled their friendship, and they quickly fell back into their old dynamic. "What about the baby?" Alex asked. "I don't want him in my life, and I don't want him in the baby's life either," she said. "I want him to be completely out of our lives." Alex leaned back in his chair, studying her. "That might be a little difficult." "Why?" "In legal cases, they only care about facts, figures, and data, not emotions. As long as you keep the baby, James will always be a part of your life." Emily lowered her head, gently touching her stomach. "I've been trying for 4 years to have this baby, Alex. What am I supposed to do?" "Keep it," he said firmly. "You don't have to go back to James. But this baby is your miracle. Don't lose it just because of him." Alex's words sank deep into Emily's heart, and she smiled. "Yeah, you're right. Thank you so much, Alex." 2 days later, Alex took her to see a lawyer for a consultation. The lawyer was a friend, a middle-aged woman named Rachel, and Emily felt comfortable the moment she stepped into her office. They had called ahead to make an appointment, so when they entered the neat, professional space, Rachel greeted them with a smile. "Hi, Alex. How are you? It's been a while." She then turned to Emily. "Good afternoon, Emily. Please have a seat." "Thank you." As soon as they sat down, Rachel got straight to the point. "I've been briefed over the phone, but could you explain your situation a bit more? What are our main concerns in this case?" Alex squeezed Emily's hand, and she smiled gratefully. "As I mentioned, my husband sent me divorce papers 2 days ago. We've been married for 4 years and couldn't have a child. James walked out, and I caught him cheating with his secretary 2 weeks ago. I feel like he abandoned me because I couldn't get pregnant. Does he know you're pregnant?" Rachel asked. "No, I haven't contacted him since I received the message about the divorce papers." Emily leaned forward. "I don't want him in my life anymore. Is it possible not to tell him about the pregnancy?" Rachel leaned back in her chair, her face thoughtful. "Transparency is crucial in this case," she said slowly, "and we can't completely hide it because he will find out eventually and may try to fight for custody, which would put us at a disadvantage." Emily sighed. "Is there anything we can do?" Alex asked. "James has hurt her so much, and she doesn't want him to be involved in her life. We can delay revealing the information about the pregnancy," Rachel smiled. "Not hide it completely, but delay." "What does that mean?" Emily asked. "For now, we can focus on the terms of the divorce and secure a favorable outcome before bringing the pregnancy into the mix." "I don't want his money," Emily said irritably. "But you're entitled to it," Rachel responded. "And that's why I'm here. My priority is to protect your rights and ensure a stable future for you and your child. We'll plan our approach carefully and be prepared for any developments. But first, we need to respond to the divorce filing and start the process." "Thank you," Emily said, feeling more at ease. They spent the next few minutes reviewing the divorce papers while Rachel explained each step to her. Since Emily was adamant about not wanting financial support, Rachel only proposed what was fair. With Rachel's help, Emily asserted her stance on the division of the joint assets they had bought together. It was the only thing she wanted. She reminded Rachel that she wanted the divorce to be resolved quickly and not drag on. "I'll handle the preliminary negotiations with James's lawyer from here on," Rachel said. "I'll also prepare for potential issues regarding child custody because, believe me, it's bound to come up. But don't worry, I've got this under control." 2 hours later, Emily signed the response, and it was sent off. "How do you feel?" Alex asked as they left the lawyer's office. "Relieved," Emily replied, "but also a bit anxious." "What are you anxious about?" "I don't know. I just wish I could erase James from my story." "Don't say that," Alex said, guiding her to the car. "You once loved him and gave your all to him. He will always be a part of your story, but if you keep looking back, you'll never be able to move forward." "When did you become so wise?" Emily teased, touched by Alex's words. Alex laughed. "I've always been this way. Seems like you're just now noticing." Emily met Alex's gentle gaze and wondered why he always looked at her with such admiration. She carried so many burdens, and he had never once made her feel like one of them. "I'm hungry," she said awkwardly. "Let's go get something to eat." Alex smiled. "I know a place." They went to a cute little cafe in town. "Is this new?" Emily asked as they stepped inside. "Yeah, I come here at least 4 times a week. The food's great." Emily rolled her eyes. "We'll see. You still like muffins?" Alex asked as they sat down by the window. Her mouth fell open. "You still remember that I like muffins?" Alex smirked. "I remember everything about you," he said. "How could I forget?" Their eyes met again, and Emily felt her breath catch in her throat. Luckily, the waiter arrived just in time, and Alex turned to place their order. Time really does fly when you're having a good time because Emily didn't realize how much time had passed until it started getting dark. Alex drove her home, and she waved goodbye with a shy smile at her door. As she walked inside, she tried to sneak in without her parents noticing, but her mom caught her as soon as she reached the hallway. "You're back?" her mom asked. "Were you out with Alex all day?" "I went to see the lawyer," Emily replied. "All day?" Her dad raised an eyebrow. Emily rolled her eyes. "I'll be down in a bit." She quickly walked down the hall and added, "Let me take a quick shower first." Before they could say anything else, Emily had disappeared into her room. Her phone beeped, and she thought it was a message from Alex since she'd asked him to text her when he got home, but it was a message from James. "Please pick up your phone. I want to talk to you about the divorce." Right after the message came through, her phone started ringing, and for a moment, Emily considered picking up, but then she decided against it. There was nothing left to discuss. Rachel had assured her that any further conversations would be handled between her lawyer and James's lawyer. She let the call go unanswered. By the time she finished her shower and changed into her pajamas, James had called 10 times. A message from Alex had just come through. "I'm home. Thank you for a wonderful day." She was the one who should be thanking him. He had taken her to see Rachel, who was proving to be very efficient. Then he had brought her to a beautiful cafe where they ate the best muffins she had ever tasted. From there, they went to the park and talked, catching up on each other's lives. She texted Alex back, "I'm the one who should be thanking you. I had a great time." Just as she hit send, another message from James came through. Emily groaned as he ruined her mood. She clicked on the message and was shocked to see the malice in his words. "I'll make sure you get nothing, not even the house. I once wanted to come back to you, but now I don't. Good luck living without me. I'm moving on with my life, and I'll finally be able to have kids." Emily stared at the message, wondering why she hadn't seen the signs of James's bitterness before. It was as clear as day now. Thankfully, another message from Alex came through. "Can I call you?" Emily responded with a simple yes, and Alex's call came through almost instantly. In just a moment, she had forgotten all about James and his threats. 3 months after filing her response to the divorce and agreeing to the terms, Rachel was finally able to set a date for the settlement. Despite explaining the need to complete the divorce swiftly, James had refused to cooperate. He was deliberately dragging out the process, always coming up with unreasonable excuses. Emily was sure he was doing it on purpose. By now, she was 4 months pregnant, and her bump wasn't very noticeable, but Emily still chose to wear a loose dress just in case. They weren't ready to disclose the pregnancy. On the day of the settlement, Alex offered to drive her to the location. Although Emily tried to persuade him not to trouble himself, he refused. She didn't want him to exhaust himself since, as Rachel had explained, he wouldn't be allowed in the room during the settlement meeting. But Alex said he didn't mind and would sit in the car and wait. Rachel had already arrived, as she mentioned in a text to Emily. When they pulled into the parking garage, Emily texted back to let Rachel know she had arrived. She turned to Alex as he cut the engine. Over the past 4 months, Alex had become her shield and source of comfort. His presence was proof that there was some higher power out there looking out for her. Alex had made everything better, and she didn't know what she would do without him. "I don't know how long I'll be in there," she said. "I'm not sure how comfortable I am knowing you'll just be sitting out here waiting." Alex chuckled. "I'll find a cafe to sit at. Does that make you feel better?" She nodded. "I think we passed one on the way here." "I remember." Alex pulled her close. This was another thing she loved about him. He was always generous with his hugs, and being in his arms made her feel safe. She relaxed into his embrace, wishing she could stay there all day. "Don't worry, okay?" He kissed her forehead. "Be strong. You know what you want, so go after it." "Thank you, Alex, really? It's nothing," he said. "Now go in there and get this over with." Seeing James again after 4 months didn't stir any emotions in her. Her heart didn't race, her stomach didn't twist, and there was no flutter of nerves. After being with him for nearly 4 years, Emily had once thought her life would fall apart when she left him, and it almost did until Alex came along. He had saved her, and now she could genuinely say she was over James. James stared at her as if he wanted to drill a hole through her when she walked in, but Emily just smiled and greeted him before saying hello to his lawyer. There was a new face there, and Rachel introduced them as the mediator. "Good morning, everyone." The mediator began once they were all seated. "My role here is to facilitate the discussion to help you reach a mutually beneficial agreement. Everything we discuss here is confidential, so please feel free to share openly." "Thank you," Emily said. "I don't want to drag this out longer than necessary. I want the divorce to be finalized as soon as possible, but James seems to be trying to prolong it for some reason. My priority is to keep the house. If James doesn't want that, he can buy out my share. May I interject?" James's lawyer, Mark, said. James feels pressure to make quick decisions. This is a financial decision, and we have to ensure that all consequences are carefully considered. Rushing could lead him to make a decision that's not in his best interest. I don't understand what you're trying to say, Rachel responded. This is a straightforward business matter. Both of them bought the house with equal contributions. Now she either wants to keep the house or get her share, around $350,000. It's not complicated. Could you elaborate on what you think your client needs? The mediator asked Mark. He needs time to assess the current value of the house. We've already done that, Rachel replied. And you've had 3 months to conduct your own research. As the mediation continued, it became clear that James was the problem. When it became obvious that no agreement could be reached, the mediator suggested taking the case to court. The lawyers would handle the legal proceedings and everything else. So Emily left, eager to get back to Alex. His car was still in the parking garage, and she wondered if he had gone to the cafe or just sat in the car the whole time. It had been hours. She was almost to his car when she heard James's familiar voice calling from behind her. Emily, wait. With a tired sigh, she turned to face him. Can I help you? Emily, come on. He ran his hand through his hair. How can you move on so quickly? She rolled her eyes. Is that all? I really need to go. He cursed under his breath. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked. Think about this carefully. We can still work things out peacefully. Emily, are you ready to go? She jumped at the sound of Alex's voice and turned to see him leaning against his car. James squinted at Alex before turning back to her. Who's that? Mind your own business, James, Emily replied, walking away. As they drove out of the garage, James stood there, staring at them. That was James, wasn't it? Alex asked. Yeah. How did you know? He's dragging everything out, she sighed. He's a nuisance. He wants me to reconsider, as if I haven't had enough time to think about it. I just want him out of my life. Alex smiled. So what's next? A trial. Rachel will let me know all the details. Emily didn't want to go home just yet, so Alex drove them to a park. It was late afternoon, and no one else was there, just the two of them sitting next to each other. I bet you regret getting involved with me, Emily said. What? Alex frowned. No, I'm happy to be doing this with you. Right then, as they looked into each other's eyes, Emily lost control and tried to do what she had always wanted to. She leaned in to kiss him, her lips almost touching his when he gently held her shoulders and turned away. The rejection stung, bringing her back to reality with a painful jolt. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Alex. It won't happen again. Hey. Alex took her hand and gently pulled her to sit on his lap. She stayed still, deeply embarrassed. What was she thinking? You have no idea how much I want to kiss you, Chris, he said. I really do. I think about it all the time. Then why did you stop me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Because I'm not sure why you're doing it, he replied. Are you kissing me because you genuinely want me, or because you're angry at James? Emily took a deep breath. Alex, I would never do that to you. Never. I'm not thinking about James anymore. I don't want him, and I mean that. Are you sure? Alex's eyes softened. Because I love you, Chris. I always have. Her mouth opened, afraid to say she loved him too, worried he wouldn't believe her. She almost couldn't believe it herself, but she really did love him. I want a chance to treat you right, he said. James was such an idiot to have you and ruin it all. I get why he's trying to stall now, and I'm afraid you'll end up giving in. Emily touched his face. Never. I will never give in to him. I don't love him anymore. I love you. Alex shook his head. Don't say things you don't mean, Chris, please. I love you, she repeated. I'm saying it because I mean it. They gazed at each other for a long moment before embracing tightly. Emily's heart felt light, and she knew that for the first time in years, she was truly happy. The trial was scheduled to take place a month later, and the time flew by. This time, Alex was allowed inside the courtroom because it was an open session. Emily was glad he could be there, as she and Rachel planned to disclose her pregnancy during the trial. Rachel intended to use this information to request a higher settlement. She would also cite emotional distress and fight to limit James's involvement in the child's life. Emily prayed everything would go as planned. If she never had to see James again, it would still be too soon. She truly loved Alex and wanted to spend her life with him without James's interference. The judge entered, and the trial began. Court is now in session, the judge said. We are here to address the remaining issues between James and Emily. I understand that mediation did not resolve these matters. Counselors, please proceed. Mark stepped forward. Thank you, Your Honor. Emily wishes to keep the house or be compensated for a buyout, as my client cannot continue to cohabitate with her. We have agreed to pay her $350,000 as requested. It seemed someone had finally managed to convince James. The judge nodded at Mark and turned to Rachel. Present your case. Certainly, Your Honor. She stepped forward. While we acknowledge James's offer, it is no longer sufficient. We are now requesting $400,000, and this amount needs to be settled promptly so my client can move on with her life. Mark frowned. Excuse me? That's right. Rachel smiled at him. Because my client has just discovered that she is pregnant. The courtroom fell silent for a few seconds before James let out a loud gasp. Emily. He tried to move closer to her table, but a stern look from both Mark and the judge stopped him. Oh my God, I can't believe this. He turned to the judge. Please, Your Honor, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to get divorced. What exactly are you saying, Mr. Collins? The judge asked. Mark stepped forward. My client is requesting the court to allow additional time for reconciliation before finalizing the divorce. Emily was utterly confused when the judge granted James another 6 weeks. She couldn't believe she had to endure him for another 6 weeks. It was frustrating. As the judge left, she hurried back to Alex, who had opened his arms to welcome her, but James blocked her path. Emily, please wait. Annoyed by his persistent interruptions, she turned around. What now? Can we talk? They were still standing in the courtroom, with the lawyers a few steps away and Alex standing behind her. I never wanted it to come to this, James whispered, his eyes filled with sadness. I only gave you the divorce papers to scare you into coming back to me. I can't believe you actually accepted it. Please come to your senses and work this out. Emily turned to Alex and gestured for him to come closer. He looked at James with a mixture of anger and restraint, and she guessed the only thing keeping James safe at that moment was the fact they were still in the courtroom. James, Emily said, taking Alex's hand and intertwining their fingers. James's eyes widened. This is my boyfriend, Alex, she said. It's only been half a year since we split, James shouted. And you're already dating someone else? You never loved me, Emily. Emily chuckled. Based on your theory, you never loved me either, she said. Since you were sleeping with your secretary for 2 years while you were still my husband, please forgive me, please. James tried to reach out and touch her hand, but Alex stepped in between them. Don't touch her. Walk away. How dare you? James yelled, but Alex remained calm. They left James standing behind them and headed to the car. Are you okay? Alex asked as he helped her into the car. More than okay, she smiled. Let's go home. Instead of taking her home, Alex drove them to the park. This place was quickly becoming their favorite spot. As usual, there was no one else around, just the two of them. Thank you for being there for me today. Emily hugged Alex. I love you. Alex's mouth dropped open. Look, he said, pulling her away and pointing behind her. Emily turned to see, but there was nothing there. When she turned back to face Alex, she nearly fell out of her seat. Alex was down on one knee, a ring box open, revealing a stunning ring. She blinked at the ring before looking into Alex's eyes. Will you marry me, Chris? He asked, his eyes full of love. Please. I love you, Chris. I want to do right by you and your baby. But how? Emily asked. I know we've done everything we can, but James will always be a part of my life. Can you handle that? My mind will only be focused on you, Alex said, and I will always hold to that. I don't care what happens next as long as I have you. Emily burst into tears and threw herself into Alex's arms. He gently slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her hand. Yes, I will marry you. Thank you, Chris. He kissed her shoulder. Now we'll do this together. Over the next 6 weeks, James called every day, crying and begging Emily on the phone, but she had made up her mind. Her mind was at peace, and she was only looking toward a future with Alex. When the final court date arrived, Emily was 6 months pregnant, eagerly anticipating the birth of their baby so they could finally have their wedding. As usual, Alex accompanied her into the courtroom. James entered not long after, his eyes glued to Alex and Emily. He was approaching them when the judge entered, forcing everyone to take their seats. "We are here to finalize the divorce between Emily and James," the judge said. "We have discussed the terms and reviewed all objections. Today, we will reach a final resolution. Attorneys, please proceed." James's attorney stepped forward. He spoke about how James wished to continue disputing the case, but the judge dismissed it. She ordered them to provide financial records to confirm the current market value of the assets. Rachel also stepped forward and made her case for Emily. After nearly an hour of arguments, the judge needed to weigh everything that had been said, so she left the courtroom for a few minutes. When she returned, she said what Emily had been waiting to hear for almost 6 months. Based on the evidence and the agreed-upon terms, the court will finalize this divorce. The next few minutes were spent finalizing the details and setting up a payment plan for the compensation. As soon as everything was settled, the judge exited the courtroom. Emily ran to Alex, tears welling up in her eyes. Behind Alex, she caught a glimpse of James, his eyes red and swollen from exhaustion. He looked like he hadn't had a good night's sleep in ages, but Emily didn't care. She kissed Alex's neck and pulled back. "Should we celebrate?" he asked. "We absolutely should," she agreed. "Let's go." Alex led her out of the courtroom. "I know exactly where we should."
This story reminds us that sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most important lessons. It takes courage to confront the truth and even more to choose what's best for yourself. If this story inspired you, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more captivating tales from the True Crime Studio. Thank you for watching, and may your days be filled with strength, clarity, and happiness. See you in the next story.